Welcome to our channel of IGNOU Audiobooks, Indira Gandhi National Open University, School of Sciences, SOS, Master's Degree Programs. Bachelor of Science, BSCG. Skill Enhancement Courses, SEC. BCHS 183 Laboratory Management Skills. Block 1 Laboratory Organization. Unit 4 Communication in a Laboratory. 4.1 Introduction. Communication is essentially to and fro transfer of information between individuals, departments as well as between organizations. Therefore, it is an important aspect of the functions of any organization. At the heart of any well-run department will be a good system of communication. In order to be effective, communication must take place at the proper time, must be accurate, and must occur speedily. The laboratory staff is required to have a knowledge of the languages in which the communication is done at his institution. The staff should also be well versed in the language which is used universally, like the English language. In other words, it is essential to have a good knowledge of communicating as per the requirement. Thus, if a complaint pertaining to lab repair is to be made or a letter to be written to the vendor for the procurement of lab-related items, then the communication has to be made in two different ways. In this unit we will discuss three means of communication: oral, written and by using computer. Of these, oral and written are the old and common means of communication, whereas computer has become very important and also essential now. Most of the times an oral communication is an informal one, while written communication is a formal type. In the next block, you will study the important aspects of laboratory management. In the next block, you will study the important aspects of laboratory management. Expected learning outcomes. After studying this unit, you should be able to list means of communication stating when each would be appropriate. Recognize and produce suitable written communication is given. Circumstances. List some of the uses of the computer for filing and keeping records, together with any drawback. Identify different channels of communication at the workplace and recognize their use, and recognize your place in the work team and be aware of the areas of their responsibility. 4.2 What is communication? Communication is a process of exchange of messages, facts, ideas, opinions, feelings between two or more persons. In any organization, various people are linked together for common purposes. Mutual understanding and effective relationship among such people can be established by meaningful transfer of information from one person to another. Any department can be successfully run if it has a good system of communication. Communication system involves sending of information, receiving the information as well as response or reaction to the information. Transmission of information from communicator to receiver is carried out by certain means. In the following sections we will consider some of the means of communication available to you and when and how you should use them. It is necessary then you should select the most appropriate means of communication for the benefit of the people with whom you communicate. It is also required that you should use correct level of language and terminology. This will avoid misunderstanding, mistakes and breaches of protocol. 4.3 Oral communication. Oral communication between the people occurs with the use of spoken words. You should keep in mind the following points while communicating orally with your colleagues or other people. 1. Listening is as important as talking. 2. Accuracy and precision in what you say avoids confusion. 3. Be carefully how you use jargons. However, science is reckoned to be an exact subject, so use the correct names for apparatus, quantities, etc. When discussing science, oral communication can occur face-to-face or with the help of the telephone. Face-to-face communication is most natural and easiest means of oral communication that occurs daily between co-workers during work. Telephone is most commonly and widely used mechanical device for oral communication. The cellular phones, commonly called cell phones, have become a household commodity and revolution is the means of communication for the past many decades now. Oral communication obviously has advantages and a disadvantage compared to written communication. While oral communication is quick, easy and personalized, it suffers from one major disadvantage. When finished, there is no record of what has actually been said. It can be important to have a written record of a conversation. For example, if you receive some goods which are broken or incomplete, you will need to notify the supplier and, in some instance, the transporter, carrier. The easiest way to do this is to use the phone. And there is no reason why you should not do so, provided you follow up your phone call with a confirmatory letter, of which you should keep a copy. If you receive an oral request for some apparatus, ask for the request in writing, or write it down yourself, immediately. Then there is less chance that you will forget. No doubt you can think of many other instances from your working life where the written word is essential. 4.4 Written communication. The communication process that involves written media, i.e. paper, is called written communication. It involves distribution and delivery of papers. Two basic aspects of written communication are information received and information sent. 4.4.1 Information received. You must always read the information you receive. After reading through the information, you can decide what needs to be read in depth, what can be scanned, and what can be safely thrown away. With experience, you will learn how to do this. All the incoming information that is important should be filed. In Unit 7, you will study about filing system. Probably the most important written communication which you will receive concerns requests for apparatus and materials. 4.4.2 Information sent. This is the aspect of written communication where your skill of using appropriate language, precision, accuracy, and thoughtful words is exercised. In the following sections, we will discuss some types of written communication. 4.5 Memoranda. Memoranda, though some prefer memorandums and others refer to memos, are commonly used for written communications within a workplace, within department, etc. They are much like letters in general layout and content but differ in certain specific details. Memos dispense with the need for giving instructions, salutations, greetings, and a complimentary close. A signature is not necessary in a memo, although it may be installed. While it is not true that memos are always brief, they are essentially an aid to quick and direct internal communications. They should, therefore, be written in clear, concise English, and in continuous prose rather than in note form. It is a good idea to number or letter each topic for clarity. Try also to plan the contents of your memo so that they follow some sort of logical sequence. Instead of presenting statements as these occur to you, you should not forget the usual words of courtesy and politeness. 2. These belong as much in a memo as in conversation or letters. 4.6 Letters. There are conventions established by bodies covering the way that letters are set out, and every letter has certain components in common. It might be interesting for you to see how far you are aware of these. Let us now look at the example of a letter by an equipment firm to the chief technician in an organization. Science Equipment Limited. 1. Bungalow Nagar, Jawahar Road. Date. Chemical Industries Limited, Okhla Industrial Estate, New Delhi. For the attention of the chief technician. Your ref. Our ref. DRS. Date, the 4th of April 2022. Dear Sir, your order No. A023904. We must apologize for the delay of the above order, which is due to nil stock of this item. As this situation was unforeseen at the time of your order, we now find that we are unable to invoice you for March. We would be grateful if you could notify us as to whether you wish to cancel this order and reorder for April invoicing, or if you would like the order to stand. We hope to have sufficient stock to cover your order within the next 21 days. Yours faithfully, Dr. Singh. Sales Office. The laboratory staff has to make both official and sometimes personal communications depending upon the nature of work. Let us understand what we mean by official and personal communications in the following subsection. 4.6.1 Official and personal communications. We are going to draw your attention to a point of procedure concerning letter writing. Your workplace will have a supply of headed writing paper and it may well have a policy concerning who can use it and who can sign letters written on it. 2 points arise from this. 1. The quality of the letter reflects the standards of the sender and his or her place of employment. Therefore, letters on headed paper should be typed and laid out correctly. Correct spelling, grammar and punctuation are equally important. 2. A typewritten letter on headed paper represents an official communication from an establishment, and whoever signs the letter must have authority to represent the establishment. It is unlikely that you will send out official letters in your own right. It is more likely that you could be required to draft letters which are then typed and signed by one of your superiors. Bear this in mind when reading this section, and remember the distinction between official and personal communications. For personal communications, you can make your own draft and can send handwritten as well undesigned by you. Incidentally, beware of signing letters with P, per procuration M, in someone's absence, even if it is a letter that you have drafted. The use of P implies a legal responsibility for the contents of the letter. 4.7 Reports. There are two kinds of report that you may be called on to write in connection with your work. The first may concern an investigation or inquiry that you have been making, e.g., an experiment, and the second may arise because you have some information that you wish, or have been instructed, to pass on, e.g. after an accident or other mishap. Scientific reporting is generally written by the students working in the laboratory. Accurate reporting of experiments allows these to be repeated as a verification. Other kinds of reports may be either informal or formal and often concern a particular set of circumstances that may need action or decisions from someone in authority, e.g. head of the department. In this unit, it is impossible to take up all the cases in which you communicate with people at work, but in this section you will be introduced to the basic understanding so that the underlying principles and procedures are clear. You will learn about the informal and formal reports in the following subsections. 4.7.1 Informal reports. Many of the comments that we have made about other forms of written communications apply to informal reports. They should contain only facts presented in a brief and logical way. Important features to include are the date, the title and the name and status of the person making the report. These should begin with a simple statement of the relevant facts and/or circumstances. It can be helpful to number or letter each item. If there are circumstances in which your opinion has been requested, your opinions would then form the second half of this report. If data and/or diagrams would help the reader, these should be included. The same criteria apply to these diagrams while writing the reports of experiments. 4.7.2 Formal reports. Formal reports are often produced as the result of an investigation or request for information required by management. A formal report can be similar in layout and content to the informal report but may contain 5 sections instead of 2. Each section might require a heading. Examples of these headings could include the following. 1. Terms of reference. The outlines are who gave the instructions for the investigation or whatever, the nature of the investigation, the extent of the inquiries and the nature of the information required. This helps you to clarify in your own mind exactly what you are meant to be considering. 2. Proceedings, procedure or action taken. This should consist of a list of actions, with dates and time, when these took place. Actions could include examination of sites, equipment and processes and visits to other places, etc. No information is given at this stage. 3. Findings. In this section, all the facts are listed as in the first section of the informal report. If more than one item or situation is being investigated, This section can be divided up by appropriate subheadings with numbered or lettered details. 4. Conclusion. This section is for the writer to express his/her conclusions and/or opinions and must refer to the findings. They should express the result of logical reasoning and deduction from the facts. 5. Recommendations. You might not be asked to make suggestions as to what action should be taken, but, if you are, there are some do's and don'ts to be considered. A. Do be practical. Consider the effect your recommendations could have on your colleagues if they were adopted. Be precise. B. Don't suggest that further investigations should be made, unless there are good reasons why your investigations were not adequate or sufficient. C. Don't let your wishes dictate your recommendations when all the facts point to a course of action that you would find unwelcome. B. Anxious about making important recommendations. Major decisions are not likely to be made on the basis of your report alone. Writing a report after collecting facts and drawing conclusions ought to be at least a 2-day process. Once your report is written, keep it for 24 hours and then read it again. It is surprising how many alterations and/or corrections you will wish to make after you have slept on it. Finally, as with the informal report, the final draft of your formal report should be signed and your status added, with the date that you produced the report. Till now we have briefly reviewed different types of written communication. Now we will study another mode of communication which can be used to produce all the forms that we have mentioned above and much, much more. You must have understood this mode of communication makes use of computers. You are very well aware how useful the computers are for various purposes. These have become a very helpful means of not only communication but also for the various types of jobs required to be performed in the laboratory by the staff. 4.8 The computer. You must be aware that the computer is now a powerful tool in communications. Indeed, this unit was written and produced with the assistance of modern communications technology. The units are word processed using a software viz. MS Office. You can also use a microcomputer as a word processor if you have the right program available. As a word processor, you can use a computer to generate all the written communications we have discussed in this unit. Microcomputers are an indispensable tool in the modern working environment, and you may also have access to a mini or mainframe computer. There are many software packages available for use in stock control and in keeping records of the kind we have discussed. There are packages which link stock control with accounts, and these are particularly useful if you bear financial responsibilities. Of the three